So quarterfinal time, and let's go ahead and do the predictor on these ones.
Yeah, let's take a look how we did at the last round and see how we go moving forward.
Okay, it's quarterfinal time at the Euro. Things are starting to heat up. Okay, so match day 1, we all know 33. Then we had 43. Last match day, 36. Round of 16, so a point for each round, I suppose. I don't think this is bad. Looking at the results, we'll go over the results now. You find me the one person that got all the results right of these the round of 16, and no, don't, because I'm not going to commit to anything because someone might find someone. But I'd be amazed, absolutely amazed, if someone was able to get full points for the round of 16. So Wales, Denmark. We had Denmark winning. We had Poulsen scoring first. Unfortunately, he didn't play a lane, but it was 4-0.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to remember the striker that came on. I think it was Dolberg.
Dolberg, yeah.
Yeah, the young Ajax man, a lot of promise when he was at Ajax. Career sort of fizzled since then, but wow, he was on form the other night and showing the world why he was such a promise at Ajax. Yeah. Great game. Denmark's looking hot and organized.
Yep. Italy, Austria, we had a 2-0. I suppose we were going that route. Well, in extra time, Austria did fall one back, and unfortunately, Chiro did not score, even though he hit the crossbar there, so we could have probably got those points there as well. But overall, we got a good 5-pointer there. Netherlands, Czech Republic. So yeah, that's the first big miss of this round.
Yeah, we got this completely wrong. We went 2-0 Netherlands. It was 2-0 Czech Republic. Yeah, major shock of the tournament. The Dutch team falling out, and yeah, they didn't really look that promising against the Czech Republic. They looked limited. When they did put their foot on the gas towards the end, they did seem to cause the Czech Republic more problems, but never enough to actually get a goal.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's a major upset, but it was a big upset of this round. The major upsets are still to come. Belgium, Portugal. We had 2-0 Belgium. It was a clean 1-0. So Lukaku obviously not scoring. It was Thierry Hazard. But that was a close result. Portugal did play well, though. I think they deserved a bit more than the 1-0 loss there. But yeah, as we mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of these third-place qualified teams. But yeah, who are we to say then? Anyway.
Well, yeah, I think it's only fair, honestly, that Portugal not having won a group game at the last Euro and only having won one at this one don't make it beyond this point. I'm not a big fan of the third-place qualifiers either, and it just seems to dilute the competition, and it makes those group stages less competitive and less meaningful, in my opinion.
Well, say that to the Swiss team. Let's go into Croatia, Spain. So this was the one that I will say that I had a strong feeling, and that's why we also put the booster here, that it was going to be a sweet 0-0. I came close. There was a bit of a variation of 8 goals, but yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, no, you were correct. Both goalkeepers managing to keep their sheets dirty this game. It wasn't a great game for defenses. It was an incredible game to watch. The first goal that the Croats got given to them by Spain was probably one of the most laughable things you'll see at this tournament. But Spain did step up nicely. They started looking good. And even though Modric was doing his best to pull the strings for Croatia, they seem like a team that's just lost that edge to a couple of years ago.
Agreed. And then we move into what I would say is probably the biggest upset of the tournament so far. We had it down as a 3-0 win for Spain, for France, actually. We were correct by them scoring 3 goals, but we weren't counting on the Swiss side scoring 3 goals as well here.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, this one. Like, we did go ahead and say France heavily predicted to win when we were doing this predictor, but on the day I started having my doubts after the Spain-Croatia game and just seeing how the Swiss team were looking, warming up, and they just looked like a really compact unit, and they look happy to be at the tournament. They look happy to be there as a team. They remind me of Italy in many ways in that regard.
Well, having watched them live, I was not expecting any of this. I was even saying, like, against Italy, I think that 1 shot on goal. Like, yeah, in my mind, there was no way Switzerland were going to score 3 goals against France. Like, no.
Yeah, but like I said in our last video, I would invite you to go find that interview of Gosens. I mean, was it Gosens? No, of Remo Freuler after the game, where he was stating that against Italy, they literally got everything from tactics to mentality wrong. So maybe that was the one
against Wales. Wales as well, they didn't have the right mentality then. So
Yeah, well, I think like most of the tournament as a Roma fan, I've been keeping my eye on Xhaka. The last game, he was really important. He's not a player who's going to get you assists. He's not a player who's going to get you goals. But as far as organizing that midfield goes, he was incredible. He was instilling the right mentality in his team. He was a real captain. And after that game, both Juventus and Paris Saint-Germain have sort of thrown themselves between Arsenal and Roma. So it's going to be interesting to see if Roma still do have the players' will to come join them and to play for Mourinho if he can get offered a much bigger salary at Juventus or Paris Saint-Germain.
Okay. Then moving into yesterday's games, we had England-Germany. For me, this was a big surprise as well. I had Germany winning this hands down in my mind. But it was a clear win from England. Germany did start off really well. After the first 15 minutes, this is going to be a clean sweep from Germany, easy win. And instead, slowly, England held really good and then slowly crept their way back into the game. And at the end, it was just England.
Yeah, I think I'm going to just go for what I've been saying all tournament about Germany is they're missing a striker. They're missing a front man up top that can hold the ball. Playing with Muller as a false nine, like you can't say anything bad against Muller career-wise, but yesterday he did not look on form. He missed the goal that would have put his team back into the game and kept them in the tournament realistically. And the German team just looks like they're missing that front man. They need a Kane or a Dzeko or a Zlatan or somebody up front who can just allow them to relieve the pressure, kick the ball up and get their shape again. Relying on these incredibly talented young half strikers, half attacking midfielders is interesting. But once you come up against a blocked defense that really knows how to organize itself, you start missing your center forward.
Yeah. And then Sweden, Ukraine, I think, yeah, we had 2-0 Sweden. Sweden were playing a lot better, and they probably deserved to win. I think Forsberg hit the crossbar and the post. He was with two really amazing shots. He also scored the goal. And then I think the tide changed when there was the foul on Bezedin of Ukraine, which was a horrific foul. Obviously I don't think there was malice intent in there, but he got the player really badly. I overextended the guy's knee. I think there's multiple ligament damage. They still haven't released the medical report there, but yeah, that was a horrific challenge, which I think push the tie more towards Ukraine's team.
Yeah, the tie definitely swung with that red card. Horrific tackle. If you go take a look at it again, like you said, I don't think there's much malice in it. Danielson went for the ball. His ankle sort of bounces off the ball as he makes contact with the ground and sort of raises up and just catches the Ukrainian player mid-leg. The leg bends completely backwards. It's a brutal tackle. And yeah, we're going to have to wait to see what sort of damage is actually being done because it did not look pleasant.
Yeah, the leg moved kind of like how Ibrahimovic's leg moved when he tore his ACL landing in that semi-final for United. Okay, let's move into the quarterfinals. So, exciting stuff here. There's some good matchups, but there's exciting games. We're expecting bigger teams to be here, but I think seeing how these teams have performed, it might be kind of interesting to see. So, Switzerland, Spain. I can see that the 2-1 Spain is the most popular choice, but I can actually see that there's a 10% for a 2-1 Switzerland.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I guess it depends if we see the Switzerland that played against France or if we see the Switzerland that played against Italy.
Well, listen, I really like Akanji and Elvedi. I think they're playing really well. Elvedi did really well against Mbappe. Like, I was extremely surprised of how well he's, like, defensive knowledge, not of how he's, like, just how he was able to shut, and his movements were brilliant against Mbappe. Will it be the same against Spain? Like, look at France's goals here. We had Benzema, which was amazing touch of brilliance, and how he got, like, it was like a Pro Evolution Soccer control, how he did that. He didn't even know where the ball was, kind of, and it passed it around him in front of the goal, boom. Pogba's goal was fantastic, and then Benzema's goal was just, that was a goal. One of their goals out of the two were something that the defense could have handled. The other two not. So Switzerland's defense is looking good, but is Spain's attack with Morata kind of firing now? Is that something that might get them goals?
Yeah, after 2 games in a row, seeing a total of 10 goals, the Spanish attack does look hot at the moment. But I fully agree. Elvedi and Akanji look like the perfect complementary pair in defense. You've got calm experience and tactical knowledge from Elvedi, and you've just got pure raw physicality from Akanji. Both players have got experience. Both play for big clubs like Borussia Dortmund, for example. and they are players that know how to manage real strikers, playing against Bayern and other quality teams year in, year out. Like I said, I think this is going to come down to mentality. If Akanji, Elvedi, Xhaka, Shaqiri, Seferovic, if they all come out with that, we're willing to die here for the team, I could really see Switzerland pulling off another upset.
Yeah, well, being in the quarterfinals, I think that might just come automatically. So what are we going here? Should we listen? Whether we say a score or not, like obviously getting the winner gets us points here. But what about going to penalties? Should we put a draw?
Well, funnily enough, yesterday when we were discussing this, myself and a couple of other Azzurri fans, I was stating yesterday that I would be willing to bet that the semi-finals are going to be Switzerland, Italy, and Denmark, England.
Okay, so what are we doing here?
I would say 1-0 Switzerland or 2-1 Switzerland. Maybe 2-1 Switzerland, because I don't see Spain not getting a goal.
Team scoring first, Switzerland?
Yeah. And I think we go for their brightest spark so far, which would be Seferovic.
Yeah.
Even though Mbolo's looked really impressive, but he drops very deep to help that midfield.
Belgium, Italy?
Well, as you can see, it's going to be a narrow one, and where the general public is split between 2-1 for Belgium or 2-1 for Italy. There's a very narrow percentage.
Hazard being out and possibly De Bruyne as well, I think it tilts in favor of Italy. And I think Chiellini's back as well. Maybe 1-0 Italy?
I would say Italy through, but this is going to depend a lot on the wingers. If Berardi and Insigne don't step up, we're going to get overrun down the flanks. So this is going to be an interesting one, but I still see Italy progressing. So let's say 1-0.
Cheeto?
I guess we'd be silly not to, even though he didn't look great in the last one.
Yeah, I think we get Cheeto. Czech Republic, Denmark. I'm feeling the Danish are going to do well here. I would say probably 2-0 Denmark.
Yeah, I'm feeling 2-0 for Denmark as well. The Czech Republic has scored a few goals, but a few have come off the penalty spot. Schick looked good. Darida's looked good. But overall, I think the Danish team is not only very well organized, but also riding on an emotive wave since that Eriksen incident. And it's really compacted them as a unit, and they're fighting as a team. So I see them going through.
Dolberg, Poulsen, or Braithwaite?
Is Dolberg going to play after that last performance? Because if he does, I would suggest that, or I would reckon he's going to get another goal.
Yeah, I think he's going to start. I think Poulsen's out. Ukraine, England. This is a tricky one, even though I think England should take it, but I think Ukraine are going to put up a fight.
Yeah, I think that for a couple of reasons, this is going to be a lot closer than the average English fan expects. I think that they're underestimating the strength of the Ukrainian team. I think all of us are to a slight extent. Yaremchuk, Yarmolenko, Zinchenko, they've got some really quality players in that team. But the other reason that I feel that England might struggle in this game is if you take a look at all the games they've played so far, they've played every single one in the UK. And the temperature there right now is about 6 to 7 degrees cooler than where they're going to be playing the next one in Rome.
True.
So I think they're going to have a bit of a shock when they walk out into the Olimpico. Around about the 40th minute, I think you're going to see the English team really lagging for energy.
Well, they are lucky that they're playing the night game. But yeah. Okay, shall we do 1-0 England?
I think 1-0 England.
First team to score will obviously be England then. And the player, should we give to Sterling, seeing that they're just coming from him, it seems?
He's the only one who can score, so he is.
Okay, who's getting the booster? Which one of these are we sure the team's going to win?
I don't know. I feel comfortable about more Denmark and Switzerland than the other two games, to be honest.
I don't know. Switzerland's going to beat Spain, but I'm going to go with Denmark. Let's go. We both decided on that one, and we're good to go. So those are our predictions for the quarterfinals. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you think Switzerland's going to manage to beat Spain. I think that's the biggest question mark on our prediction there. But listen, I don't think we're going to be winning any prizes, seeing how well we've done so far. But yeah, very excited to see these matches.
Yeah, it's getting down to crunch time now. A few teams left in this tournament, and every minute matters at this point. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this channel, and we will see you next time on the Pink Table.